Why life without meaning is the real freedom we need. Let me ask you something. What would you do if life had no meaning? Not just your life, but life itself. No grand purpose, no cosmic plan, no inherent reason for existence. Would you panic? Would you rebel against the idea, clinging desperately to something, anything that feels meaningful? Or would you embrace it? Here's the twist: the absence of meaning might not be the crushing truth you think it is. In fact, it might be the very freedom you've been searching for all along. We spend so much of our lives chasing meaning. We look for it in careers, relationships, religion, and goals. We tell ourselves that life has to mean something, that our existence needs some higher purpose to justify itself. But beneath all of this striving lies a quiet fear. What if there is no meaning? What if all of this, the entire human experience, is just an accident, a random, chaotic blip in an indifferent universe? This is the existential dread that keeps us awake at night, the question we avoid because the answer terrifies us. And yet, when we stop running from it, when we stare this question in the face, we might find something extraordinary. If life has no meaning, then you are free. Free from obligations to fit into a script you didn't write. Free from the pressure to achieve some predefined purpose. Free to create your own meaning or to live without it entirely. Think about that for a moment. If nothing matters, then the weight you've been carrying, the expectations, the guilt, the constant striving for something more suddenly disappears. What's left is pure possibility. But let's not romanticize this too quickly. The realization that life has no inherent meaning is painful. It's disorienting. It feels like losing the ground beneath your feet. Friedrich Nietzsche called this the death of God. Not in the literal sense, but as a metaphor for the collapse of traditional values and beliefs. When we lose these structures, we're left with a void, a terrifying emptiness. But Nietzsche didn't see this as the end. He saw it as the beginning of something new, the opportunity to create our own values, to live authentically, to become what he called the Übermensch or Overman. Here's the thing: for most of us, meaning feels safer than freedom. Meaning gives us a sense of direction, a sense of control. It tells us what to do and why we're doing it. But this safety is an illusion. If the meaning you cling to isn't one you've chosen for yourself, then it's a cage. It confines you, even as it comforts you. Real freedom begins when you let go of the need for meaning and accept life as it is: chaotic, unpredictable, and absurd. Now, I know what you're thinking. If life has no meaning, then what's the point? Why bother with anything? This is the paradox of a meaningless existence. It's both liberating and terrifying. Without meaning, there are no rules. There's nothing you have to do. But this also means there's no roadmap, no guarantee that your choices will lead to fulfillment or happiness. This is where most people get stuck. They see the absence of meaning as a void, a black hole that swallows everything. But what if it's not a void at all? What if it's a blank canvas?
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
Imagine waking up tomorrow with no expectations, no obligations, no pressure to be anything other than what you are. What would you do? How would you spend your time? Who would you become? These are the questions that a meaningless existence forces us to confront. They're not easy questions, but they're the most important ones you'll ever ask. The truth is, meaning is a human invention. We create it because we need it, because it helps us make sense of a world that often feels senseless. But just because we create it doesn't mean it's real. And this isn't a bad thing. It's a reminder that meaning isn't something you find, it's something you make. Or, if you choose, something you can live without. In the next part, we'll explore what it means to live without meaning, not as a nihilistic surrender, but as an act of radical freedom. We'll look at how letting go of the need for purpose can open up new possibilities for creativity, connection, and joy. Because living without meaning isn't about giving up, it's about breaking free. The blank canvas, creating a life without meaning. Imagine your life as a blank canvas. No predefined rules, no inherited purpose, no grand cosmic plan dictating where you should go or what you should do. It's terrifying, isn't it? The sheer openness of it paralyzes most people. We've been conditioned to believe that meaning is something we need to find hidden somewhere in the universe, waiting for us to uncover it, like a treasure buried beneath the sands of existence. But what if the truth is that there's nothing to find? What if the canvas is blank because it's yours to paint? This is what living without meaning truly offers: radical freedom. But freedom, as exhilarating as it sounds, is also deeply unsettling. When we let go of external meanings, religion, societal expectations, even the narratives we tell ourselves about who we are, we're left with a profound question: what now? This question is both a curse and a gift. It forces us to confront our fears, our desires, and our deepest insecurities. But it also gives us the power to create something new, something entirely our own. Consider this: if life has no meaning, then there's no correct way to live it. There's no universal blueprint for success or happiness. This means you get to decide what matters. You get to choose your values, your priorities, your purpose, or reject them entirely. Instead of searching for meaning outside of yourself, you can start creating it from within. But here's the challenge: most of us are afraid to take responsibility for our own lives. It's easier to follow a script, to live by someone else's rules, to let meaning be handed to us rather than creating it ourselves. Why? Because freedom is hard. It demands courage. It requires us to embrace uncertainty, to accept that there are no guarantees, no safety nets, no promises that the life we build will turn out the way we hope. Jean-Paul Sartre, the existentialist philosopher, called this condemned to be free. He meant that in a meaningless universe, we have no choice but to create our own meaning, and that this freedom can feel like a burden. But Sartre also saw it as an opportunity. If there's no inherent meaning in life, then we're free to define it for ourselves. We become the artists of our own existence, shaping our lives with every decision we make. So how do we live without meaning? How do we create a life that feels fulfilling, even in the absence of a grand purpose? The first step is to let go of the need for certainty. Life is messy, unpredictable, and often absurd. Embracing this chaos is part of the process. Instead of trying to impose order on the universe, let yourself be curious. Explore. Experiment. Treat life as a series of experiences rather than a puzzle to be solved. Next, focus on what brings you joy, not the joy that's tied to external achievements or societal expectations, but the pure, unfiltered joy that comes from being alive. Maybe it's creating art, spending time with loved ones, exploring nature, or simply sitting in silence and appreciating the moment. When life has no meaning, joy becomes its own justification. But don't stop there. Use your freedom to connect with others. Meaning may be a human invention, but it's one we create together. Relationships, communities, and shared experiences give our lives depth and richness, even if they're ultimately fleeting. In a meaningless universe, the love we give and receive becomes one of the most powerful things we have. And finally, accept that you don't need to have all the answers. Meaninglessness isn't a problem to be solved, it's a reality to be embraced. The beauty of a blank canvas is that it's never finished. You can keep adding to it, erasing parts, starting over, or letting it be. There's no right or wrong way to live a meaningless life. Ask yourself this: if you stopped searching for meaning, what would you do differently? What would you create if there were no rules, no expectations, no limits. What kind of life would you paint on your blank canvas? In the next part, we'll explore the paradox of meaninglessness, how letting go of meaning can lead to a deeper sense of connection, purpose, and fulfillment. Because sometimes it's only when we stop searching for meaning that we truly find ourselves. The paradox of letting go, finding purpose in meaninglessness. Here's the strange thing about meaninglessness: the more you resist it, the more it consumes you. The harder you cling to the idea that life must have a purpose, the more disoriented you feel when that purpose slips through your fingers. But when you let go, when you stop demanding that life provide some ultimate answer, you create space for something unexpected. What emerges isn't a traditional kind of meaning, but something more profound, a sense of purpose born not from the universe, but from within yourself. Think about it this way: if life inherently lacks meaning, then nothing you choose to do is more or less correct than anything else. There's no cosmic scoreboard, no universal arbiter weighing your choices. This realization, while unsettling at first, is also liberating. If nothing matters on a grand scale, then everything you do can matter on a personal one. The smallest moments, a shared laugh, the warmth of sunlight on your skin, the act of creating something beautiful become deeply significant, not because they fulfill some higher purpose, but because they're yours. This is the paradox: letting go of meaning doesn't leave you empty, it fills you with life. When you stop searching for some ultimate truth, you begin to notice the truths that are already here. You see the beauty in fleeting moments, the power of human connection, the joy of simply being alive. These things don't require a grand narrative to be worthwhile. They are meaningful because you experience them, because you choose to make them part of your story. But here's the catch: this kind of purpose isn't handed to you. It's something you have to create. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, wrote about this in his book Man's Search for Meaning. Even in the horrors of a concentration camp, Frankl found that people could endure almost anything if they discovered their own sense of purpose, even if that purpose was as simple as surviving one more day or helping someone else. Frankl's insight was clear: meaning isn't something we find, it's something we give to our lives through our actions, our choices, and our perspective. So what does this mean for us? It means that we have the power to create purpose, even in a meaningless world. It means that we can choose to live in a way that feels authentic and fulfilling, not because life demands it, but because we do. It means we can stop obsessing over what life is supposed to be and start embracing what it is: a blank canvas, a stage, a playground. Ask yourself, if the universe doesn't care what you do, what would you do differently? Would you take more risks? Would you spend more time with the people you love? Would you pour your energy into something that makes you come alive, even if it seems trivial to others? These are the questions that a meaningless existence invites us to ask, and the answers are entirely up to you. In the final part, we'll explore how embracing meaninglessness doesn't separate us from others, but connects us in a deeper, more authentic way. Because when we stop searching for meaning, we discover that we're not alone, we're all standing together on the same blank canvas, painting as we go. The shared canvas: how meaninglessness connects us all. At first, the idea of a meaningless existence can feel isolating. If there's no grand purpose, no universal plan, then what binds us together? Why do we care about one another? Why do we love, grieve, or find solace in the presence of others? But here's the beautiful irony: when we let go of the need for cosmic meaning, we begin to see the profound ways in which we're all connected. Meaninglessness doesn't divide us, it unites us. Think about it: every single person you've ever met is grappling with the same questions you are. Why am I here? What am I supposed to do with my life? Does any of this matter? These questions may take different forms depending on who you are or where you're from, but they're universal. We all share the same human condition, the experience of being thrown into a world without instructions, without guarantees, without a clear purpose. This shared uncertainty is what makes us profoundly alike. When you strip away the superficial layers, status, wealth, beliefs, and ambitions, what's left is something raw and deeply human. We're all just trying to make sense of a world that doesn't come with a manual. We're all trying to find joy, connection, and a sense of belonging in the face of chaos. This recognition is what allows us to feel compassion for one another. It's what allows us to say, "I see you. I understand. I'm struggling too." In a way, meaninglessness is the great equalizer. It reminds us that no one has the answers, not the philosophers, not the scientists, not the religious leaders. We're all standing on the same blank canvas, painting our lives in real time. And the beauty of this shared experience is that it allows us to create meaning together. Relationships, for instance, are a perfect example of this. On a cosmic scale, love may not mean anything, but on a human scale, it means everything. The bonds we form with others, whether they're fleeting or lifelong, are what make life rich and vibrant. They ground us, even in the face of uncertainty. When we share our joys, our sorrows, and our fears, we're not just connecting with others, we're co-creating a sense of meaning, however temporary it may be. This is why embracing meaninglessness doesn't lead to despair, it leads to freedom and connection. When we stop obsessing over the why of existence, we can focus on the how. How can we live in a way that feels true to us? How can we support one another in this shared struggle? How can we make the most of this fleeting, chaotic, beautiful experience we call life? So here's the ultimate question: what kind of mark will you leave on this blank canvas? Not because you have to, not because the universe demands it, but because you can. Because in this meaningless existence, every choice you make has the potential to create something beautiful, not just for yourself, but for everyone around you. In the end, meaninglessness isn't something to fear. It's an invitation to live authentically, to connect deeply, and to create freely. None of us know how long we have on this canvas, but together we can paint something extraordinary. And maybe, just maybe, that's all the meaning we'll ever need.